Welcome to the Lance Wallnau Show, bringing you a, shall we say, a perspective. I would call it a prophetic perspective, but this is going to be also Real America's Voice today. We're recording for Real America's Voice, Mercedes Sparks. So we have the ever-effervescent Mercedes Sparks. Hello. Who is drinking her effervescent mug over there.
Which you too can get at lancewallnau.com/swag. You can get your own Lance Wallnau show.
Yes, you know, you can get your own Lance Wallnau Show mug and a T-shirt and talking Trump doll. We also have those available in some capacity. We sell out of those a lot. Now, listen, what I'm going to talk about today is very important. Do you know what they're doing now? Have you guys do you guys ever track the news inside the news? So, for instance, the way that the Biden team is handling the fallout from the documents that he's not supposed to have is... They're going after Mike Pence. So here's the story, right? Biden, clearly, there's a reason why everybody went and started hustling to go through the Biden boxes. And the feeling is that it has to do with the Hunter Biden case. And the lawyers are going through, gee, what has he got? Where has he got it? And then they're finding out it's more than one location. Now, the hubris of Joe Biden and you could see the contempt and the disdain they had towards Trump, that they could never imagine when he was with Obama and when he's running against Trump, a time when he would have to really be careful about covering himself because he's got the media, he's got an 8-foot moat of protection around him, and you get overconfident during a period like that. So these boxes that have been in his garage next to his Corvette, for all we know, they might have a record in there of an email from Hunter regarding the Burisma Holdings deal and what's going on and some information that Dad stuffed in there. So now there's this, my theory is, there's this forensic, really cleanup, vacuum cleaning going on of every potential document. Now that the Republicans got the gavel and court cases are starting to look like they might be a reality. All right. So they knew about this before the midterm election and didn't say anything. For obvious reason, they suppressed the story. One wonders, they're now speculating, if they knew about this as far back as the Mar-a-Lago raid. And that the Mar-a-Lago raid actually was a cover because they knew that they had documents, too, that were going to be coming out. So you never know how intriguing the intrigues are on these things. But what we do know is this. The most crisp criticism of Biden when they try to say, well, it's not as bad as Trump. Oh, Trump wouldn't even turn things over. Well, as has been pointed out, the vice president doesn't have the same elasticity of authority to declassify documents and walk off with them as the president does. As certain senators are saying, my gosh, these documents go all the way back to when Joe was a senator. Do you know classified documents, how they're given to senators, comes in a box by some, CIA trench coat guy. He comes in, opens the box, and while you're there, you read the document, you read it, you hand it back to him, it goes back into the vault, the guy walks off with it and takes it. That's how senators get classified briefings. They don't have him text and Skype to them. So they're saying, the senators are going, how did he walk off with anything as a senator? But the big criticism was, as a vice president, what's he doing walking off with documents in the first place? The president, Obama, they had some problems. Clinton had some problems with some documents. Obama, they never bothered with the documents. It would be just no one wants to touch Obama. But Clinton had problems. Well, Trump, clearly, there's some documents at Mar-a-Lago he shouldn't have. But here's the deal. They had to go after Pence because they had to dismiss the narrative that Biden, as vice president, did something he shouldn't have done by showing that even Vice President Pence made that mistake. So let's not talk about vice presidents. Even Pence. They had to get even Pence in the conversation. Not because Pence has anything. They have to equal out the dynamic. You see what I'm saying? They got to make it Vice President Biden. Okay, well, maybe he did take some documents when he was vice president and senator, but so did Pence. They can't, because Trump can't be compared to that analogy. So leave it to Maggie Haberman of the New York Times to give us the classified documents found at Pence's home in Indiana. This is like the way that the intelligence community, the FBI, and the CIA have their outlets there in the New York Times, and they leak their stuff. They've been doing this for years. Comey wasn't the first guy that leaked something to a New York Times journalist to go print to create a crisis for the president. So in this case, Maggie Haberman gives us what she's got. And what does Maggie have here? Documents were inadvertently boxed and transported to Mr. Pence's home at the end of President Donald Trump's administration. And so what do we know about these documents? Let's hear what quote we have. Counsel identified a small number of documents that could potentially, catch the language, could potentially contain sensitive or classified information interspersed throughout the records. So what do we know? We know that there's paper that the vice president got to take home with him from his administration. I'm sure there's tons of that. You empty out your file cabinet. If you're not going to burn it or shred it or turn it over to the FBI, you take it with you. And it could be all kinds of things in there. But if it's potentially containing sensitive classified information interspersed through the records, so what you got here looks like they simply went to do a photo op of getting Pence's information in order to double check that there's nothing there that shouldn't be there. And now boy, you talk about a forensic, they're going to be looking for anything they could find that they could classify as inappropriate. Why? Because that's the smokescreen they've got for Biden. So, what do we got here? But what's curious to me is that Pence is allowed to bring boxes to the National Archives on January 23rd. An archive spokesman declined a request for comment, but he's allowed to bring the boxes in. Now compare that to Peter Navarro, who says, I'll bring whatever you want me to bring. I'll whatever you want from me, I'll bring it to you, and I'll come over and you can interview me yourself. But the FBI and the Department of Injustice demanded that the cameramen be ready, just like with Roger Stone, just like with Steve Bannon. They wanted to put leg irons on the guy. They wanted to lock him up. They wanted to have him handled as though he was a Hamas terrorist. They wanted to have him experience the trauma of being locked up, put in a car, photographs taken, the humiliation and the psychological abuse of Peter Navarro, former Trump board, member of his own cabinet, handling the Treasury. Now here's and handling negotiations with China. Here's the way they treat you. They want the photo manipulated New York Times, CNN fog machine of the propagandists like Maggie Haberman to make it look like Pence also is up to no good, like Trump. But we aren't buying it. We're not buying it. I'm going to do a Keith Olbermann right here and say I'm fed up with that. So you guys know the story. But the 20-point smoking gun is a different story. Here it is from the Gateway Pundit. You guys remember the picture? We could bring it up on the screen for you. It's that picture of Biden, who never met any of the business partners of his son, nor did he ever discuss his son's business, except for the 12 holes of golfing where they never mentioned each other's names or what they did for a living, I'm sure, to Dad. So here's the 20-point email of classified information that the father had gotten over to Hunter in order for him to do his Burisma business with the board. So, as reported by Christina Lila, according to the emails uncovered from the laptop from hell, Hunter Biden sent his business partner, Devon Archer, a very detailed email on Ukraine on April 12, 2014. Just 1 week before Joe Biden visited Ukraine. Just 1 week before the big guy went over and put the squeeze on the cheese to make sure that there was no prosecution that was going to be against Burisma or expose his son or him to harm, and boasted of it in front of the press about how he shut it down. It appears that Hunter Biden was emailing Devon Archer with information he received from a confidential briefing that his father, the vice president, Joe Biden, gave him. This is the smoking gun stuff you guys want to think about. And it's the information may have come directly from top secret documents. Who knows? Because this is why the chain of custody thing is interesting. Who has access to Dad's garage next to the Corvette? Didn't Mike Pence, I'm sorry, not did Mike Pence. Was Mike Pence there? Didn't Hunter pay rent for being at $40,000 or $50,000 a month for being in Dad's house? Is this the house where the Corvette in the box in the garage was? And did he put it down in his tax return that he actually owned the house? And who pays $50,000 a month to your dad for rent? I can't get my kids to work with me that way. And so why is it 10 months unless it's like $500,000 going to the big guy through inflated rent that I paid? And why didn't Biden report this properly in his taxes? Probably because the son already paid taxes on it, and then is funneling it to his dad as a payment or a gift. Later that day, Hunter replied to Archer with a 22-point plan on how they were not going to let a crisis go to waste to cash it, I'm quoting, not let a crisis go to waste, period. To cash in on the Western-backed chaos in the Ukraine, Hunter offered the following plan. Our guy Joe needs to set himself up as the anti-Viktor Pinchuk, that's the coal and steel oligarch, pro-Russian Yankovich supporter. The Burisma contract should begin now, not after the upcoming visit of my guy. Who is my guy? He won't say who my guy is because my guy is the big guy. To discuss further plans, Hunter told Archer to, quote, buy a cell phone from a 7-Eleven or CVS tomorrow, and I'm going to do the same, close quote. Hunter's 20th point was another CYA, cover your ass, insertion for the paper trail as the very next point, 21, laid out how, in quotes, domestic policymakers, close quotes, including, and should we say especially Joe, were to be leveraged for a, quote, $25,000 per month deal. Domestic policymakers were to be leveraged for a $25,000 a month deal. Well, right there, you've got the collusion and the confusion of private sector business with government agency. This is where, like, you have to have that special disclosure if you're going to be acting as an agent doing business, right? None of which I think was done. From the Hunter Biden email to Devon Archer on April 12th. Are you guys paying attention here? Mercedes, you listen to this?
Yes, I am.
All right, because this is important. Because this is I'm reading to you the contents of highly sensitive emails that the Biden legal team now knows. The prosecutors and the Congress people and the MAGA people and Donald Trump himself can read. And you're now getting so this is like Gateway Pundit. I guess there is kind of a cosmic law going on here. The yin and yang of the universe, which obviously as a Christian I don't believe in, but I mean it's the fact that if the New York Times can be the outlet for somebody to leak information in order to get a strategy out for a smokescreen, it looks like the Gateway Pundit has information leaked to them from inside sources that are revealing what is going on in the panic zone of the White House. Interesting. To Devon Archer, I have to go to Houston with Bo tomorrow for MD Anderson checkup, some thoughts after doing some research and some further thoughts on organization going forward. And so this is from Hunter Biden, email to Devon Archer. Some sort of decentralization will likely occur in the East. If it doesn't, the Russians will continue to escalate their destabilization campaign, which could lead to a full-scale takeover of eastern region. Most critically, Donetsk. The strategic value is to create a land bridge for RU to Crimea, for Russia to Crimea. Point 3. That won't directly affect Burisma Holdings, but it will limit future UK exploration and utilization of offshore opportunities in particular. So what we're doing a business forensic analysis based on State Department inside information that would be of interest, which is why a board would want maybe Hunter on, because he'd have access to hidden information in the Washington, State Department regarding what's going on in the future of the region. It will also result in further destabilization of UK nationally and for whatever government is in power, and the U.S. will respond with even stronger sanctions. Those sanctions will threaten the tenuous support of the EU, which does not have the political will to incur steep energy price increases. Well, that assumes that Trump isn't a factor, because if Trump's a factor, he might not respond with even stronger sanctions. Trump would have had the intelligence to not escalate this and get billions of dollars involved with foreign entanglement wars with the number 3 most corrupt nation in the world, mainly Ukraine, and he wouldn't have been driving Putin into the arms of China. And he wouldn't have been offending the UAW. I almost said the United Auto Workers, but it's the United Arab Emirates. And he would have offended them, driving them into a competing system that would destabilize the dollar. All this buffoonery was done by the Obama-Biden regime. It was also result in a destabilization of the UK, which will result in further price increases in Russia, gas to the UK. Oh, we're going to make some money here, I guess. The IMF loan guarantees will allow the UK's, I'm realizing it's the Ukraine's, not the United Kingdom. UK, he's using the Ukrainian here to weather the economic impact, but the required reforms to the Ukrainian public subsidies will weaken the new president. So he goes in and he's making his analysis that our guy needs to set himself up as the anti-Russian supporter. In other words, Biden's going to go in there, and part of the business deal is he's going to be posturing himself as an anti-Russian in order to help solidify some of the business that they're putting together with Burisma. The Burisma website or press releases should talk about how Burisma is the largest independent committed supply for the Ukraine industry. And he goes on, and what I want you to catch here is the details of the deal that Hunter is putting together is directly related to the intelligence he's getting from inside sources such as his father and from the role that his father is about to play that is part of the scenario for closing the sale and letting them know that dad is part of the stability of this transaction. So this is really going to be a much bigger deal. And I'm reading it to you in greater depth than you're normally going to hear because the 20-point email of classified information is just been leaked publicly so that we can read it. You guys ought to be familiar with it. Now, how is this going to play out in terms of the drama on the Hill? Well, Merrick Garland claims that there's no double standard of justice. He's under a lot of pressure because as the story gets out on Biden, certainly there's more there than they could find with Trump. And so he's got a real problem in terms of how he's going to cover for this and how he's going to prosecute Trump. The one thing you could guess is Trump ain't going to be prosecuted vigorously in light of this. And I just want to say something. And I said this on an interview the moment that the Mar-a-Lago raid took place. I said, I believe this is an overreach, meaning that America's in a kind of a spiritual battle. And if you remember the story of Job, when Satan said he was going to test Job, he was given certain parameters to how far he could go, how far he couldn't go. And he was told, you can't touch his body, but everything else is yours. Or actually, you could afflict him with boils, but you can't take his life. So Job, there was boundaries put on this. And in a strange way, it's the violation of the boundary is what triggered me that something is going to happen with Biden's house, because he went in to Trump's personal house, his wife's closet, his son's bedroom. And that level of invasive violation of a person's sanctity, their privacy, you know what it's like? It's like when you've had a thief or the government break in and go into your private bedroom, go through your drawers. It's almost like a mental form of rape where you've had certain boundaries where you think you're secure, and to have them violated that way is a profound step of overreach. Which is why in our original documents, our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, et cetera, we were dealing with unlawful search and seizure, which has to do with the violation of your space, your safe space, your home, your bedroom, et cetera. So this violation, I said then, is going to result, I believe now, that there was an overreach. I think it's a spiritual miscalculation in the aggression of Trump's enemies in Washington, and that they have violated a boundary line, a red line has been crossed. And sure enough, Biden's house is going to be his undoing. You watch it. It'll be his son, and it'll be his own physical property. His own house and his own garage is going to reveal more than people think. And Garland, Merrick Garland, he's as the nation's chief law enforcement officer, he's going to have increased pressure on him to have to deal with the Biden situation. I don't necessarily agree with Alan Dershowitz, the esteemed Jewish lawyer, scholar, prosecutor, defense attorney, who says that that the president is insulated from consequence regarding documents, classified, unclassified, and their management, because they're not, it's not his responsibility directly. Somebody was doing that for him. But what Alan wasn't addressing was, what if the content of those documents leads to criminal activity, which is what the left was longing to find somewhere in Trump's household, but could never find it. Not with Donnie, not with Eric, no matter what they overturned. They couldn't find a rock with anything under it. But it looks to me like Biden, when the boomerang comes back, he's going to be exposed. And the thinking on the street is this is all part of trying to remove him from office. I don't think it was part of a plan to remove him from office so he wouldn't run again. I think a phone call to him and a conversation with a couple of people would have convinced him not to do that. I think this is a spinning out of control scenario. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at this whole chaos theory. I want to go to something that Glenn Beck had to say about this, that we're now dealing with the cascading, overlapping, multiplied chaos of global events, from dollar collapses to economic upheavals to social upheavals in the streets and in nations to the collapsing of perhaps the Biden administration, his own presidency, and all of this kind of coming together in rhythms overlapping creates this kind of panic mode of instability, which the left loves because it gives them a premise for seizing more power. So, Mercedes, do you have anything to say on the whole scenario with Biden?
The boxes and the papers about it. No, I really don't. I'm over here trying to block all your spam people in your Facebook comments. There's all these Rico Suaves out there who are like, hello, beautiful. How are you? Commenting to all these people in here. And I'm like, block. So I'm trying to save these ladies from being catfished.
And I got him. I got him to show up. Like, can't we block that? Like, isn't there another way to block that, folks?
It's really hard because they just go and they create another profile and then they come back. It's people who are, it's scammers, right? And so it's like they put this nice picture of this good looking guy and he's like, hey, beautiful. I mean, I don't want to be too forward, but do you think we could be friends? Would you message me? Next thing you know, somebody's sending $20,000 overseas to some Nigerian prince, you know?
Well, there you go, people. That's multitasking live. You don't want to miss tomorrow's broadcast of the Lance Wallnau Show, where we're going to be doing an analysis of exactly what happened at Davos. We got a segment from Glenn Beck I want to talk to you about. We're going to be discussing the chaos unfolding in the financial market. And these things are all extremely relevant. We're going to hit it all tomorrow. Don't miss it. Lance Wallnau Show. And where can they go to the Lance Wallnau Show? I mean, it's on podcasts or where do they go? It's on lancewallnaushow.com. We don't have that.
lancewallnau.com/podcast.
Oh, lancewallnau.com/podcast. All right. We'll see you there tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to this Lance Wallnau broadcast. If you enjoyed today's show, make sure to subscribe and share the episode. See you tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm excited to announce my original My Slippers are back in stock. You've made them a huge success, and now I've added smaller sizes, larger sizes, wide sizes, and all new colors. And with your promo code, you still save $90 a pair. Not only that, I'm having the biggest closeout sale ever on our sandals and slides for as low as $19.98. What makes my slippers different is my exclusive 4-layer design that you're not going to find in any other slippers. My slippers' patented layers make them ultra comfortable, extremely durable, and they help reduce stress on your feet. Wear them anytime, anywhere. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen now. Use your promo code to save $90 on my original My Slippers, or for as low as $19.98, you can get our sandals or slides. Quantities won't last long, and with my 60-day money-back guarantee, you can rest assured they'll be